So I just discovered a good book that I'm really enjoying, and I thought I would jump on here and tell you a little bit about it. It is called Murder of an Elvis Girl, and it's by the author Buddy Moorehouse. Now, quick thing about it is I'm actually listening to the audiobook here on my iPod. I am a big fan of audiobooks. I know some people don't consider it the same as reading, and that's fine, but for me, it's a great resource for taking in content because sometimes you're too busy to sit down and page through a book. This is a great way to do it because I can put this on in my car. I can listen to it while I'm shoveling snow or doing something like that, mowing the grass if it's that time of year. And I just think it's a great resource. And also, I actually got this book as a free download from the library. So I got an app on here and you can just go through and download free books. You don't have to pay for an Audible subscription. It's really cool. So that's what I did. I got my app out. I was just thumbing through and I found this book, Murder of an Elvis Girl. And the title instantly caught me because I'm not a huge Elvis fan, but I am interested in Elvis and particularly the era he lived in and he was an influencer in. And I've always been fascinated with that time period. And I didn't know there was a story here, but I started reading the description and I was really fascinated by it. So basically, there was this girl named Jenny Maxwell, and I was vaguely familiar with her, but she's not like a household name to me. But she was an actress in the late 50s, early 60s, and she was what was known as an Elvis girl, one of the girls that would appear in one of Elvis's movies and kind of be tied to him. So that's where the title comes from. But the book is about how I believe it was 1981, she was murdered. And the book starts off with that part of her life, the end of her life, and the murder. And then after it kind of introduces that part of it, it goes back and starts from the beginning and starts telling her life story and how she became an actress and how she got to work with Elvis and things like that. Now, this format that I've been doing, what I call book start to finish, is I begin the book and I haven't finished it yet. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just kind of giving you the intro that I've listened to. I've done about the first 30% of the book. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I'm going to finish the book and then I'll jump back on when I'm done and I'll let you know my final thoughts and my overall opinion of the book. But I got a feeling that I'm really going to enjoy the rest of this because I am fascinated by what I've heard so far. So Jenny Maxwell, interesting story she had. She was born to Norwegian parents who were born in Norway and they immigrated to America. And she was born here and she grew up in Brooklyn. And she began acting like in acting school in the New York, Brooklyn area. And she ended up becoming a very popular, predominant actress in her late teens, early 20s. She did a lot of TV work. And then she got cast in this movie called Blue Hawaii. It was one of Elvis's big movies at the time. And that's how she got equated as being an Elvis girl. And really, this part of the story is about her acting career. But again, that's fascinating to me. That era, the late 50s, early 60s, that's a kind of just era of Hollywood that I've always been interested in. And another cool thing is she did an episode of The Twilight Zone, and if you watch some of my other videos here, you'll probably glean the fact that I'm a huge Twilight Zone fan. So she had done that episode, Long Distance Call, with Bill Mumy, who was the little boy that was also in It's a Good Life. It was the episode he did before that. She plays the babysitter in that episode. That was one of the episodes that was shot on videotape. There was 6 episodes shot on videotape. And I just did a review video of The Night of the Meek, which was another of those 6 episodes that was shot on videotape. And I talk a little bit about that in that video. But funny thing is her being in that episode put her on the map in lots of ways and led to her getting the Blue Hawaii gig and some other ones. And I don't know anything about the murder yet because I'm assuming that's going to be covered later in the book. So I am going to pause this video now. I will go finish the book. Now, it's going to be a couple of days from now, so if I'm at a different angle of the camera or I'm dressed different, that's why. I'm probably not going to finish the book the day I'm recording this part of it. But when I do finish the book, I will record my final thoughts on it, because I got a feeling that this is going to be a very interesting story. I'm going to be very into the second half of this book, because the first half was really, really good. All right, so I'm going to do that. I'll jump back on the camera in a little bit. Stay tuned. I'll give you my final thoughts here in a few. Okay, I am back, and I have finished this book, Murder of an Elvis Girl. And as I noted in my intro part of the video, I definitely enjoyed the second half of this book quite a bit. It was very well done, very fascinating stuff. So back to Jenny Maxwell, the subject of the book. So the first part that I had read before got mostly into her career, but as the book progresses, it gets deep into her personal life, and there's some pretty interesting stuff going on there. So, long story short, she stopped acting at age 26. She had some personal problems, mostly had to do with a failed marriage, and she had a son, and there were some legal wranglings going on about custody and things like that. So she gave up acting in order to take on the role of being a parent better. And what that led to was a lot of years where her career kind of fell into obscurity, because, of course, this was the era before the internet. This was before IMDb. And so if you stopped acting and you weren't seen in films or TV anymore, you were kind of forgotten about. So at the time of her murder in 1981, when a reporter reported on the story, he didn't know who she was. And she actually was killed alongside her husband at the time, and it looked like a botched robbery. It looked like somebody held him up at gunpoint, shot him, and took off, and they didn't know who did it. And so the reporter wrote it up as a robbery and didn't even note who she once was, that this was a former famous actor. And then what happened was it kind of languished that way. That's what the official narrative was for years, was that this was a robbery gone wrong. And the author, Buddy Moorehouse, he actually dug deeper and found out that there was more to the case than that. And I'm not going to give away what the actual outcome is, but I will say that the book gives us a pretty satisfactory answer as to who actually killed Jenny Maxwell. It gives us a really good, in my opinion, thorough and convincing explanation as to why that happened, what actually happened. It wasn't a robbery gone wrong. And I'm not going to spoil that, because I encourage you to either read the book or listen to the audiobook like I did, and you'll get a satisfactory answer, and it is pretty fascinating. So, good book, Murder of an Elvis Girl. I definitely recommend it. A couple quick things on the style of the book. So this is actually written in kind of a hybrid of a nonfiction with like true crime fiction overtones in it. And what that means is there are moments in the book where the author kind of used a little bit of creative license, and mostly has to do with like dialogue exchanges. So there's a lot of dialogue exchanges in the story, and you couldn't possibly know what exactly was said because they were in situations that wouldn't have been recorded officially. It was private conversations between some of the players in the story, and the author used some, I think, creative license to do that, but I'm fine with that because it gave the story some depth. It made the characters come alive. But the actual story, the actual details, are based on fact. They are basically nonfiction details, but there are some fictional overtones in the way the book was presented. I personally like that style. I thought it was engaging, and I have no problem with that. but I wanted to give you a heads up in case you were expecting a full-on nonfiction style. You're going to get a hybrid of nonfiction and fiction in the way the story's presented. Just to give you a heads up about that. But don't let that dissuade you if you are a nonfiction purist, because it definitely gives you that flavor. I listen to a lot of nonfiction, I read a lot of nonfiction, and I was not disappointed at all. Okay, so that is Murder of an Elvis Girl. I got this one on audiobook. It's also available on Kindle, and you can get the paperback, whatever you want to check out Amazon. Or, as I did, go to your local library, download the Libby app. You can get it for free. Definitely worth your time to do that. All right, thanks for taking the time to watch my video. I do recommend Murder of an Elvis Girl. Check it out. And I will be coming back at you with some more book reviews and book talk videos. I want to keep this going and probably expect some more audiobooks because, like I said in my intro, I just have a lot more time to give to audiobooks than I do to actually sit down and read. So I'll probably be covering quite a few of these in the future. But thank you for your time. I appreciate it. And until the next time, have a good one.